What's up, guys? This is Chris. Finally, we're at part three, top three things I wish I was taught in school. Part one, we talked about how to build credibility. Part two, we talked about how to become an expert. And in between those, we talked about like how to find your purpose, finding the fuel for the rocket or the vehicle to send you up to become an expert. And then the other kind of in between, we talked about just how to become riveting, because it's part of becoming an expert or building credibility is part of branding, and story is so powerful and influential in our lives. So today we're going to be talking about part three, which is how to utilize or get the most out of your network. And one of the distinctions I want to make here is that it sounds very like business oriented. It's not like regular relationships. It's very similar, but it's not the same. You do want to make it as humanly the same as possible. I'm going to get to that at the end. But before we get into that, we're going to talk about the find for the day. So the find for the day is Cover Action Pro 3. And if you plan to either make your own book, or if you plan to either make your own info products or something that involves creating some kind of cover, this is amazing. If you are in the music industry, or you want to make your own scrapbook, or just something that looks really nice and be able to put on the website, some kind of ebook, perfect. Get Cover Action Pro 3. I have it. And you get an unlimited amount of edits, and it looks very professional, and you just need to have access to Photoshop. I think that's it. And so go to www.chrismtw.com/CAP, and you can pick it up there. So today we're going to be jumping back into how to use your network effectively, and I'm going to give you some suggested readings right now. And I want to kind of give you a heads up. I haven't mastered this. I'm working on it. I'm an introvert at nature, so I struggle with this, and I wish I was taught this, because I see it as very essential. Like I mentioned before, the 3 or 4 things you want to start leveraging at the very beginning. I think this is where wealth comes from, which is what you know. You want to leverage what you know and increase in it, invest in it, and then also your health, your character, and your relationships. And I think those are like the key things you need to be really honing in on, and like increasing and investing and leveraging. So the books I'll recommend is Never Eat Alone by Keith Ferrazzi, How to Win Friends and Influence People, Thank You Economy by Gary Vaynerchuk, and Jab, 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 Right Hook. And then also Compelling People. I think that'll help balance you out, because like in relationships are hard, and there's the whole nice guy, tough guy. You want to be liked. How do you balance that strength and warmth? And that kind of goes into it. We're going to be talking a little bit later in this video. So I'm going to take a quote by Will Durant. He says, "History reports that men who manage men manage the men who manage things, and the men who can manage money manage all." So the reason why I bring that up is because it has to do with networking. It's the economy of how a network works, and you need to be able to be at the source of value. That's what it's saying. And before I mentioned that you need to be investing, you need to increase in your knowledge, your character, in your relationships, and your health. Like, you need to be increasing in those, because if you're able to become a manager of your wealth, your money, like that's one of the things that it's basically talking about. It's not talking about, it might be talking about the physical money, but this also applies with leveraging your knowledge, your character, your health, your relationships. So you need to be like managing those correctly first, so you can be a leader and be able to lead the others, because it's social capital. You want to think about it that way. So then you can be a manager who manages people, and then of the manager who manages things. So that is kind of like setting the stage. And this, why I bring this up and why I thought of this as top 3, is because I was trying to get a project going, and I was using my network, and this guy I was talking to, I was asking him if he had this expensive camera that could record video, and he said no, but my friend might. And then he just stopped there. He didn't see the opportunity. He didn't know how to create the opportunity to have that camera under his control. Maybe it's a lack of selling or just a lack of awareness. I don't know. But he obviously didn't know how to utilize his network effectively. He didn't know how to either get the camera that was near and that his friend had, or have it under his control so he could still have it, just bring her. So he didn't know how to do that. He didn't recognize the opportunity and know how to network effectively, and that's what I want to talk about. And also, my sister, she had these desires or goals. She narrowed down what she liked and what she wanted to be, and she just had a hard time. She was just too in her head to figure out how to access mentors or people that had these certain skills. And a little bit's fear or pride, I'm not gonna learn from them. But I think just not even tapping in, interviewing, anything like that, you're sorely missing out. So what her problem was is she wanted to be some kind of either paralegal, or she wanted to do coding, or she wanted to do nursing. And I have friends in all those areas, and I'm helping her narrow her kind of what she wants to do for the rest of her life down. And she totally did not think of asking people if they knew someone who had this skill that she could learn from or be introduced to. And I think that's kind of where we all are. I don't like to go ask people, hey, do you know of someone who of my problem that can solve my problem? That's how I feel like when I ask people. So in order to actually use your network effectively, is actually getting over your ego first. So that's a big tip, but that's not the top 3 tips that I'm going to share for using your network effectively. So that's the story. But so starting with tip number 1, you need to have massive awareness. You need to be able to know when there's an opportunity. So an opportunity usually presents itself when there's a need or there's a problem or a challenge. And that's usually the best time to kind of, there's an opportunity here. I need to see if I have a strength here, or if I know someone who has a strength with that to be able to meet the needs. So, and kind of a network, what it basically is, just to put in marketing terms, I don't know if the majority of my audience will be able to understand this, but it comes down to either opportunities, which are leads, or systems, which is time. You're trying to save time. Hey, I have this project, I want to save some time. So usually it means I need a system of either delegation of people to delegate the work out, or automation with technology. So there's the systems approach. You need a system. And then this is kind of very business oriented. It's taking out the human element of relationship, but I'm going to get to that at the end. And then leads, opportunities. Maybe you need to be either asking more questions, or you need to be meeting more people. And we're going to jump more into that and what that means. So kind of the questions that you would ask in leveraging your network effectively. Maybe you go out, for one, you got to be very interested in other people. If you are interested in others will be interested in you, and you got to be very giving and all those things. And the questions that you would ask would be the top 3 questions that people kind of know off the bat that people respond to is, what is their name, where are they from, and what do they do for money? And once you get kind of what do they do for money, the first 2 are just kind of warm up questions. And then once you get to what do you do for money, kind of you're getting into a little bit of the depth. So next question would be if you felt comfortable going deeper, they just felt you're feeling the connection, you're jiving, ask questions what's the number 1 challenge, or what made you get into that? What's the number 1 challenge that you have with your business, your business or your work right now? And what have you been doing in the past? And if they're comfortable sharing it with you, then you've been able to uncover an opportunity, because it's the number 1 challenge that they have. Maybe you just don't even have to ask that, and you're just doing small talk, and they don't feel comfortable. They don't feel comfortable with you. You pick up that vibe, and they reveal some kind of challenge at home or just some kind of challenge in their hobby. So those are different opportunities that you could be able to categorize in your phone and maybe segment, like, hey, these are all the people that I talk to that like running, or that have a business, or that are trying to become financially independent. And then you can message them based on those things. And this is very like marketing esque, like email marketing. But I think we could take some good principles and be able to apply it to where we can engage a high number of people. Because when you're talking about your network, you're always battling with Dunbar's number, which is the number of complete relationships that we can have, which is 150 people. And the only way that humans have found to be able to scale past that number, one is technology. It's a hack, but you're not able to have quality relationships. Two is like religion, because practices, kind of ceremonies, or I don't know, like things that you do religiously over and over, for lack of a better word, are able to have you feel more connected with more people. So that's kind of that whole spiel. And when you kind of get this list going, you want to be able to nurture that list. And nurture meaning like you want to give it information, stories, something that's entertaining, a video, an image, a GIF, whatever, something that's inspirational, entertaining, or educational, or new opportunities. Maybe they're looking for a job, or maybe they do real estate, and someone who wants a home. That's an opportunity for them that you could kind of bring them halfway, and that gives you social capital, or you could even get a cut in the deal, depending on that person. So kind of how do you approach these relationships? Because I think the relationship business is the hardest business. Either if you're socially awkward like me, or if you just don't like people much, which I think is a lot of people, because I don't know, I've kind of come to this conclusion that most people are very unpleasant if you spend long periods of time with them, because we're all fundamentally different, and we don't like people who are not like us. And we can do our best to kind of meet halfway or seem similar, but we're not fundamentally similar. And I think marriage kind of reveals that. So now we're going to be talking about just the human aspect that we needed to approach this with, and then I'll give you I gave the top tip number 1, which was awareness, and I'll give the remaining 2 out of the 3 at the end. So servant leadership. I think this is like really big. Simon Sinek made the book Real Leaders, or Leaders Eat Last, and it's about servant leadership. And I think he's onto something. It's like a very biblical kind of concept. Look in Isaiah, like I think it's 40, but he talks about how the servant, or Jesus, will suffer and do all these things. And if you look into either if you look on YouTube or Evolutionary Psychology, the book by David Buss, Evolutionary Psychology, they talk about how there's 2 types of leaders. There's the alpha male, and then there's the male who develops prestige. And like there's like even more concepts. Like there's the beta, and then there's GABA, and all these things of an alpha male. But if you look on YouTube, I think there's an evolution, or the next level of an alpha male, which is the one where for their alphaness they have to protect the group. And I think that's kind of the role you have to assume. Either protect it within those 4 leverage points that I mentioned, whether it's the health, maybe it's the character, or the knowledge, or the relationships, and be able to nurture all aspects. And either you could do with knowledge, dispensing knowledge, or just you can do it through your connection, and maybe you're coaching them, or you're being a really good friend, you're like hanging out and being really deep in their lives. Or maybe you're an accountability partner. So you can play all these different roles in that person's life, or just you check in from time to time type thing. I don't know. There's different roles for that, and I'm not specializing in those right now because I'm not that far. So next would be, so this is from Compelling People. They talk about balancing strength and warmth. The Self-Made Billionaire Effect kind of talks about that. It's that paradox of the self-made billionaire. They need to be able to be, they needed to, I forgot what the balance was, but basically, if they struck the balance of being, if they struck the balance, then they would be in the top self-made billionaire effect. So now with Compelling People, they talk about strength and warmth. So they call this as the hydraulic effect. So if you lead, nice guys finish last. If you lead with too much warmth, you're going to come across as like a wimp. And if you come across with too much strength, you're going to come across as an ass. So, or like, insert bad word here. So that's the hydraulic effect. But they do suggest, they call this the tomato rule. So if you come up with too much coldness, the tomatoes would die off. So you want to lead with warmth, and kind of like the prisoner's dilemma, if they like, or no, game theory. Game theory suggests that if they kind of hurt you, tit for tat, you hurt them back, an eye for an eye. But you want to lead with warmth, almost to like maybe the second or third degree, and take the biblical passage literal. Take someone the extra mile if they strike you on the cheek, because people are fundamentally crazy, and I'm not like making a judgment. I think I would throw myself in that pool too. Like, people don't perceive things accurately. Because they don't perceive things accurately, I'm saying that there's some craziness in every single person, and I think that's a fact you can't really argue against, because not every single person sees things accurately. But I think we do see things to an accurate level. So I think there's a percentage of crazy in every single person because of that. And so we want to lead with warmth and have forgiveness, and almost to the second or third degree, because it doesn't say take someone the 100th mile. It says take someone the extra mile. So I don't know if that should be taken literally, but I am based on what I've read. And in Isaiah, it talks about how the servant will suffer. And I think because we're human, we need to pick and choose to what extent we're going to suffer, but not like suffer indefinitely, because we need to be able to be productive to other people who need us. So next would be, so leading with warmth. What does that mean? Love. You can do the 5 love languages. Figure out what compassion is. You got the tough love. You got the compassion of listening or giving or serving, and then you got familiarity, and then you want to build that rapport. You want people to trust people who believe the same things we believe or who are similar to us, and then empathy, really kind of being in their shoes and really understanding where they're at. So that's kind of like the most I got for the warmth. And the remaining 2 points that I want to say for leveraging your network is you want to be able to create opportunity. So one is being aware of the opportunity, kind of the challenges, and then be able to create it. And that has to do with what your strength is, what you do for money, or if it's a low-hanging fruit for you, to maybe it's connecting people. So, or maybe it's an affiliate opportunity. You bring some kind of product that might be able to help the people you're talking to. And then share something valuable. That could be something like content, or it could be something physical. So it really depends on you, but you are the one that dictates your network. So stay tuned for the next video. Want to be able to contribute or give a whole bunch of these different things. Want to be talking about confidence next, and just documenting my journey as an entrepreneur. So thanks for watching. See you in the next video.